starting, Rob.
Oh, we're starting.
You were going to say something.
So no formal introduction? What the heck kind of organization is this?
You're a grown man.
She left? Okay, guys, this is Rob Kistler. He's my husband. Thank you for coming.
Nice to meet you, Rob.
Yeah, he's a director. So you don't have to be a doctor to work at the hospital, and I think you're going to be kind of surprised at all of the opportunities that they have up there for you. So.
Well, thank you. That was a nice introduction. I really appreciate it. So yeah, my name is Rob. How long are we together? Do we go for like a half hour or so? Okay. So I have a whole bunch of slides and pictures to show you, and we can go through all that. Most likely, what would be most beneficial for you is if you guys just ask questions. And so if there's something you want to know about or something that doesn't make sense that I talk through, just go ahead and raise your hand or blurt it out. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. So I'll just walk through what I have for you, and again, this is your 30 minutes, so you guys ask away, okay? So I work at the University of Utah, and so it's what I like to describe it as it's a city. It's more of a city than a university. I think there's some 50,000 students go there. I don't even know the number of employees on main campus, but the health sciences has about 12,000 employees. And so when you begin to think about the sheer size of this thing, it's a bit overwhelming. Just another shot of the university. This is what generally most people think of when they think of the U, right? They think about the football program. Did anybody watch them beat Stanford the other day? Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, they did. They beat Stanford in overtime. And you call yourself a fan. You call yourself a fan. The Alabama. Yeah. I watched the Alabama game. I don't like Nick Saban, so I turned that off. So this is I just Google imaged university hospitals and clinics. This is the hospital proper here. This is the building. This building was built in about 1986. This is the School of Medicine right here. That was the original structure built in the mid-60s. And we're actually getting ready to tear that down and build a new School of Medicine. This is the helipad terrace here, parking terrace. This is, back here is the Huntsman Cancer Institute. And the picture's not big enough to show the new Moran Eye Center, but the point of the slide really is just how big it is. It's a big place. There are three main components to the health sciences. There's a clinical component where patients like you and I go to see the doctor, and that's broken out into 5 or 6 categories here. So we have community clinics. There's one out in Daybreak, the South Jordan Clinic. We're building a new one in Farmington. There's one down in Orem. I go to the Westridge Clinic. My primary care physician's out in Westridge. That's out in the West Valley area. And so the point of the community clinics is to extend university services out into the community, so it's a lot easier to get to your doctor. Anybody ever been to the hospital? I know this young man's been to the hospital. Anybody else? It's tough to get to. If you've ever driven up there, it's on the most northeast part of the campus. Parking isn't the greatest, and so it can be hard, especially in the snow. A lot of our patients come from more than 50 miles away, and so driving to the university hospital gets to be a challenge.
But don't a lot of the employees also that work there come from all over?
Now, young lady, you should raise your hand before you. Yes, so employees come from all. That's a good point, Tammy. Thank you for bringing that up. And parking access is just a challenge for everybody, right? Yes, ma'am.
Isn't there free tracks if you work at the university hospital?
Yep.
Okay.
You get a free bus pass, free tracks. I try to take the train twice a week. So Tammy and I live out over in South Jordan, close to the line at 104 South, and so I try to take that twice a week. When it gets colder, I struggle with that because I don't like the cold particularly. So let's see, University Hospital, Huntsman Cancer Institute. There's an orthopedic center out in Research Park, the Moran Eye Institute, and then the Neuropsychiatric Institute. There is an educational arm of the health sciences. That's the School of Medicine, the School of Pharmacy, School of Nursing. And then there's a research portion. That's actually the Huntsman Cancer Institute, where clinicians are trying to figure out how to cure cancer, right? So this is me. So I'm a director. My title is Director of Support Services. I have about 350 employees that I'm responsible for. Just to give you a sense of what that means, it's about $18 million of an expense. So I actually cost the hospital $18 million. I do manage the gift shop, or a group manages the gift shop, and the gift shop brings in about $1 million in revenue every year. And so as a cost to the hospital, I have to be thinking all the time about, am I providing a good value, am I efficient, am I managing my costs appropriately? The bulleted items here are all of those orgs that I help manage, and hopefully this is where I'll spend some more time talking today. So I think Tammy said this at the beginning, more kinds of people work for healthcare institutions than just clinicians. So typically you think about doctors and nurses and techs and radiology experts and all sorts of clinical type people, and certainly we have a lot of people who do that kind of stuff. In my opinion, I think we have some of the best clinicians on the planet working at the university. But there's also a large group of folks who I just call business professionals, just as a way to talk about them. But we have people who handle the mail, we have a chef, we have people who manage our grounds, and this guy here in the corner is supposed to be an accountant. We have an army of people who manage stuff like quality, our finances, other data elements around patient accounting. And so it's an enormous business to run a healthcare system of this size. And then of course there's just managers. I just Google image managers, and these are the first two that came up. And so technically, if you were to group me into one of these lumps, I would be a manager. As a director, I'm a manager in the institution. Basically what that means is I have a whole bunch of people who I am responsible for their day-to-day activities. That's how I would classify a manager. So what I did was I went on the HR webpage, and if you go on the University of Utah HR webpage, you can type in the job code category a specific job that you might be interested in, and it will give you the whole job description. But I just pulled out some of the minimum qualifications for these jobs, and I think I did 10 or 11 of these, and so I'm just going to run through them really quickly, just to give you a sense of where you are in your journey. From a starting out perspective, all of these jobs I would classify, not all of them, but most of them I would classify as entry level. So a young person coming out of high school or college, this is a great way to get yourself into the university system, and so good stuff to know here. So we have valets who park about 550 cars a day out front of the hospital. To be a valet, you have to have a high school degree, valid Utah driver's license with no moving violations in the last 2 years, and then this customer service experience, you're going to see that over and over. So you'll see some themes through most of this. The first theme is the high school degree. So it's great that you're here, Valley, and getting your high school degree. Keep working hard at it, because to get in the workforce, that's really a minimum requirement you have to have. And the other thing you'll see is this customer service experience. And I think you probably have a sense of what that means, but ultimately what it means is just be nice to people, treat people with respect. If you're doing that, then you're meeting that minimum qualification. Gift shop clerks, they are the folks who manage our gift shop. They have a high school degree and generally 1 year of office experience. And so how do you get kind of office experience if this is your first job? Well, maybe you volunteer and you work here in the admin offices over here. I mean, I'm not quite sure what kind of opportunities that you might have to do that, but a lot of this stuff for a person just starting out is are you smart about where you volunteer? Because you can add all of your volunteer experience on your resume. So I urge you to talk to Tammy, talk to the ladies in admin, and figure out, can you get some office experience? It's pretty easy to do.
Mr. Kistler?
Yes, ma'am.
Would an office experience also be if they have a part-time job someplace, like in the mall,
Absolutely.
working at a store, and they have to do inventory and stuff like that?
You got it, yep. All of that will qualify. Custodians, I think this is the only job that I'll post that does not qualify. You don't need a high school degree to be a custodian, but you do need 6 months experience. And then effective human relations and communication skills. Even our custodians in our hospital are expected to provide good customer service to people walking through the hospital. So they have to be able to, so we have 180, is that right? 180 custodians working at University Hospital. And in that group of 180, there are 35 nationalities represented. So we have people from Africa who English is their second or third language. We have people from South America, all over the world, Eastern Europe. And so many times English is a second language for them, yet we still expect them to be able to relate to people. And obviously that can be a challenge sometimes. We have interpreters. Interpreters' minimum requirements are an associate's degree, so that means 2 years of college, in a foreign language or equivalency. And you'll see that a lot in these kinds of job postings. What or equivalency means is you just need an associate's degree. If you can become qualified as an interpreter, meaning you can successfully pass the qualification test, you would qualify here in this context. You have to have some understanding of medical terminology, both in English and a second language. Then you have to pass the qualification test. Then we have a job title called Guest Relations Specialist. They're the folks that work at our information desk, and their job is to meet people as they come in. For those of you who've been to the hospital before, I think this young man was saying how big it is, right? Really easy to get lost there. So you walk in, the clinic is 400 yards to the south. How do you navigate through the hospital? We actually hire people to help patients and families get to their destination. So again, high school degree, excellent customer service and interpersonal skills. Can you read people? Do you know how to relate effectively in a group setting? High levels of ownership, accountability, and initiative. Excellent demeanor. Present self in a mature and professional manner. I give all this detail here to just give you a sense of sort of the professionalism that's required for some of these jobs. And then there's security officers. Minimum qualifications for this role is obviously a high school degree, 1 year of security experience. You have to pass a background check, so you want to behave before you apply to be a security officer, and then effective communication and customer service skills again. And then some of the jobs that are not inside of my realm particularly, but maybe of interest to some of you, is if you want to be a nurse, you have to have a license to be a registered nurse. And then you have to pass some life support stuff. There are building coordinators in our hospitals. So we hire a team of people just to make sure that the water heaters work and that that the locks and the doors work. I mean, again, it's sort of like a city. It's sort of like managing your own house. If you turn up the thermostat, does the heat go up in your house? But we have a whole group of people who do that, and those are those qualifications. We have accountants. You got to be a CPA to be an accountant, and you got to be good with software. And then the last one for minimum qualifications, I think I showed a picture of a chef before. Associate's degree, mail handlers, high school degree, familiarity with U.S. postal regulations, and then for the manager level, at a minimum, you have to have a bachelor's degree, and so that's 4 years of college. And then to be a director at the hospital. There's a couple that don't have a master's degree, but that's happening less and less, and so that's obviously your bachelor's plus some graduate experience after that. So I tried to go through that quickly. Any questions specific to those jobs that I showed you? Yes, sir?
The security officer.
Yeah.
Am I like Paul Blart?
Pardon me?
Like Paul Blart?
Yes, just like Paul Blart. Yeah, we actually interviewed Kevin James and turned him down. But we do have one of those T2 things. So we have guys that like shoot around. So it's sort of funny to see him on that. But the reason we do it is because most of the crime that happens in our hospital happens in our parking terraces. And so the old strategy was to drive a van through the terrace. The van was slow, had to negotiate those turns, and you couldn't surprise anybody in the van. You have your security van with the lights going. So if I'm thinking about busting a window, I see the van, I just simply walk off, right? That Paul Blart mobile moves around in the terrace more efficiently, and we've actually snuck up on some people who are thinking about breaking the law on our terrace. And so it's funny, it is funny to see him on it though. Good question. Other questions?
The benefits of looking at tuition reimbursement.
Yes, so
You have to be
so you
full-time,
go in.
part-time.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So, yeah, the benefits of working at the university are the best I've ever encountered in my professional life. So, so there is half tuition reimbursement. And so when I went back to get my master's, there's two costs to going to school. One, there's an administrative cost, and then two, there's just the tuition. You'll get half your tuition paid for if you are an employee at the university. Obviously health insurance, there's a robust retirement package. And so, I mean, you know, in terms of what is out there in the real world, in terms of retirement benefits, the university is the best I've ever seen. They take, for me personally, because of when I was hired on, the university matches 14% of my gross salary every paycheck into a retirement fund. And that kind of a package is just unheard of out in the real world. I mean, it's just monstrous. Anyways, good question. And it's a great place to work. I mean, the other benefit of working for the hospitals and clinics, at least, is that the leadership is excellent, and the culture around employee recognition, patient experience is just unparalleled. I've worked in other, well, maybe we'll get to it here in a little while, but I've worked for other hospitals, and people are treated really well here at this time.
The other thing too is, what I've said to a bunch of kids off and on, is that, you know, you get your foot in the door of the hospital, and there's such potential for growth and just working your way up. And, you know, he said people who were his employees who are now his managers and stuff, you know, making a really decent salary to support their families. And again, not all of them went to college. So anyway.
No, it's a great point, and it's actually a really good segue. So the first half of the discussion is what is the minimum you need to think about to get your foot in the door, right? And so, you know, when Tam invited me to do this a while ago, I thought I had to fill an hour. So I'm not gonna cram all this in some space, but I will walk through sort of the next step. So now you get your foot in the door, right? So you wanted to ride the T2 around the terrace, you're in security now, and now you want to promote. So how do you do that? So I'm going to walk you through that really quickly. And the point of this next part is to just get you to start thinking about some things that maybe you haven't thought about. Who is that guy? That's me in the 4th grade. Yeah, look at that kid, right? What happened? I was so good looking. Yeah. What are you talking about? Look at the shirt. That's a good looking kid right there. I grew up in Albany, New York, right there. This is New York State. New Jersey, this is where Tammy grew up. So if you grew up back east, what you begin to realize is everyone from New Jersey is jealous of everyone from New York. It's true. Because New Jersey, they're just sort of substandard down there. All right, so enough of that. So that's me. It's a terrible picture, but that was me when I was about your age. I think I was about...
Did you have a perm?
No, my hair was just naturally curly. Yeah. So no perm. I wish I could call it a perm, but no, that was natural. Anyways, it's a terrible picture of me, but...
And you were not a good student, right?
Well, so yeah, do you want to do the presentation for me, or do you want me to do it? All right. So when I was 17, I think I was 16 or 17 in this picture, I was just about getting ready to graduate high school, and I graduated in a class of 300. I think I was 150th. I graduated with a solid 75, a C. Not a good student. I didn't think I was a good student. Well, I wasn't. I wasn't a good student at that point. Part of it was I didn't know how to study. I wasn't very organized. I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. No one really ever taught me how to do that. And so my point is that, you know, here I am today. I don't know if you say I'm successful because I'm the guy in the front of the room or not, but one time that was me. This is us right here all together, right? And so back then, when I was in 4th grade and when I was 17, this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be an African American. No, I wanted to be anybody know who this is?
That's me.
No, it is not you. You wish it was you, but it is not you. Come on, who knows who it is? This is Walt Frazier. He was the point guard for the New York Knicks in the 1971 and 73 NBA championship team. This is who I wanted to be. I wanted to play professional basketball. I also wanted to be Thurman Munson. I was actually a better baseball player than a basketball player, but clearly I didn't do either, and so I'm standing before you today. I went to school at upstate New York, near Albany. Bethlehem Central High School was the school I graduated from. I went to college in Utica, New York. Can you see Utica right there? Here's Albany, here's where I grew up. Here's Syracuse University for anybody who knows college basketball. So I went to Utica College, and then I came out to the university and I got my graduate degree from the University of Utah here back in 2007 or 8, somewhere in there.
How'd you end up in Utah?
I will tell you that story in a few minutes. My first job out of college was I repossessed cars for Key Bank. That's actually, it would be so cool if that was actually like a real car I repossessed, but it is not. I just Google imaged it and that's what I came up with. But first job was repossessing cars. And my second job, I worked, so this is the tri-state area, New York, hostile neighbor to the south, New Jersey, Connecticut right there. This is New York City. I worked in a nursing home in the Bronx in New York City called Morningside House Nursing Home, and it was 2 buildings on either side of the street, so there was another building that looks exactly like this. And this was the first healthcare experience I had. I scheduled nurses and nursing assistants, and I don't know, I think I probably made about 18 grand a year, some pretty small dollar amount, but I learned a ton here. My next job, same company but a different nursing home, was out in Syosset, Long Island, in Long Island, New York. Did similar stuff. I was with the company for a little while, and I started getting smarter and started connecting with people, and so I worked here. Then some twist and turn. My first hospital job was working again in the Bronx at a place called St. Barnabas. I tried to find the most inhospitable, ugliest picture of this place, because this place was a tough place to work. And maybe I'll tell you that story here in a minute. And then finally, I work at the University of Utah, which is actually the best place I've ever worked in, so I'm pretty fortunate. I met Tammy when I was working at St. Barnabas, and in 1996, we came out to visit her brother who was living here in Salt Lake, and we came in, it was March. We flew in March. That night, we got in about 10 o'clock at night. It was 1996, 10 o'clock at night. Bill picks us up, drives us home. The next morning, it had snowed 1.5 feet, and we went to Alta. And I said, now why do we live in New York all of a sudden? We went to Goblin Valley, we went to Bryce. Did we go to Bryce? We went, and we just said, why are we living in New York City? Let's move here.
As fun as you think it is, y'all, it is so expensive, and it's a little different.
It's a tough place to live.
A lot different.
Very different.
So here's just a couple things for you to think about. So I was very fortunate for a lot of reasons that I was influenced by a lot of smart people. This is my dad, actually. And he taught me a whole bunch of stuff, but the 3 things that I thought were pertinent for this was, he said to me one time, so I came home, my 4th semester at Utica College, I came home with 2 D's and 2 F's. And after he, I don't know what he did, yelled at me for a while, he just said, just show up to class, you're smart enough to get a C. My gut is that's probably true for everyone in this room. Just because you're in this room right now tells me that there's a little something more in there, right? So just show up. Half of life is just showing up. Then one time he said to me, when I was living out here, I was having a tough time with one of my bosses, he said, oh, this is the 3rd one. Figure out how to get along with your boss. If you're lucky, you'll have a good one. Most likely, you won't. Okay? So when you do find a good boss someday, stick with him or her. And then he said to me one time, you might as well love your job because you're going to have it for a long time. And that would have been great for me if I was the catcher for the New York Yankees, but I wasn't. So I had to learn how to love what I did, right? This is a guy named Ralph Hall. He was the CEO at Morningside House Nursing Home. And he taught me a bunch of stuff. He taught me to have a vision, have a plan, think about something beyond yourself, right? Lead by example. I was looking at this quote here by Gandhi. We must be the change we wish to see in the world, right? So don't complain about stuff. Just be the person you think that change ought to show. Believe in yourself, take risks. There's no such thing as luck. There's only position, right? So you position yourself in a good place so that when opportunities present, you can just sort of walk through that door, right? And don't be afraid of greatness. Yes, ma'am.
just, you got a little time.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
might wanna
zip
take some
right through.
questions.
We're buzzing right through, Tam, relax, just relax, all right? This is my current
Have
boss.
you ever talked to me like this?
This is my current boss, his name is Dan Lundergan, and the best boss I've ever had. Here's the things he taught me. Respect gets respect. Never underestimate the power of relationships. Networking, the people you know, is equally as important as what you know. Everything's gonna work out. Learn to love the process. So you know what? Love going to school. Love learning. Because what else is there? I guess you could play Xbox. And then compartmentalize. And what that means to me is, you know, all the deadlines. So just so you know, I have a couple really important deadlines that I gotta figure out how to get done today, but I'm here with you. That's nothing about this. What it is I've gotta do one thing at a time. Learn how to do one thing at a time. Your job right now is to go back to class and get an A. That's the next thing you need to do, right? And after that, the next thing you need to do is graduate. Think about it in your little steps. All right, so I'm gonna stop right here, so 4 minutes, right?
Yeah, whatever.
Questions? Anything you want to say?
Thank you.
You're welcome. I could buzz you. You have a question, young lady?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
So I'm applying to you in the spring.
Yeah.
There's the fall classes.
Sure.
And since you said that if you're working with the U, you get, they pay for your tuition by confident, right?
Yep.
What if I like get in and then like I already have paid for it? Do they help me pay for it? or-
No, they won't go backwards. They
But
would
they
just,
move forward.
correct.
Alright,
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
Do you have to be?
Like, get a job there. Like, start working there if you can.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. In order to get the full benefit, you have to be full-time. You might get partial benefit if you're half-time, but I don't recall. Apologize. Anything else?
I graduated from you. I loved it.
Yeah, it's a good school, good teachers, good campus.
You
Yeah.
know, even if you guys, you know, if it's not about going to the University of Utah,
Ooh.
even if it is about, please,
No, this is a good one. Let me do this one. So some of you may say, hey Rob, I don't have the benefit of having good mentors, or maybe my dad's not around or something like that. A lot of life is dependent upon the people you surround yourself with. And so Tammy has taught me so much about being patient, you know, things like that. Teachers are everywhere. My wife has taught me a ton, and so I'll forever be grateful to her. One of the things that I think about when she talks to me is that sometimes she says things to me that I don't like to hear, but it's only because she loves me. She just wants what's best for me. So sometimes the people who love you the most say the things to you that are the hardest to hear. So here's a secret for you. Be engaged, all right? Believe in yourself, choose wisely, learn how to choose wisely, right? Be really good at learning, and you can go practice that in about 1 minute. Be really good at it, because you got to do it for the rest of your life. Listen more than you talk. Tam, that one was for you. And be really nice to people. The best thing that you can do to be successful in the world is be really nice to people. And so that is my 30 minutes. Thank you so much.